Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yep, thank you for joining with us again.
We always love doing this. And Mom, how is your day going thus far?
Brandon, it's a great Friday. How are you doing?
All is well here.
That sounds great. Are you ready to talk about another first episode Friday?
I sure am, Mom.
All right. Today we're going to talk about the Cosby Show.
This is the pilot episode, and it released on the 20th of September of 1984.
All right. And this episode is called Theo's Economic Lesson. All right. I'm just going to give a little bit of information about this episode, but then I'm going to backtrack and kind of tell you a little bit about what this does for the introduction of the show. All right. So in this particular episode, all four of the Cosby kids are introduced. And the basic plot is that Theo receives his report card and his parents are not happy about his grades. And it's really their reactions along with Theo's reactions of his report card and the importance of it. So that is the episode in a nutshell.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Brandon.
And are you able to continue on and tell us that significance?
Yes, I will. First of all, this, in my opinion, this particular episode did not have an initiating point. Even though it had a strong storyline, there was not an initiating point. I thought for this first episode of The Cosby Show, it was more so establishing the series in itself and kind of establishing what they kind of want to move forward with. And so they do give an introduction. They establish all four of their children that are there. They establish that Dr. Huxtable, well, that he's a doctor. They establish what's not established really is Claire, because they may have said she's a lawyer, but it is not emphasized at all that she's a lawyer. And so they're kind of establishing that they're a working family, and that and their kids are important to them, but they're also, like I said, but they decided not to have an initiating point. It really is just establishing the family in itself. But then there are vast differences between this first episode and then the second episode that airs. And Brent, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm not even sure if you're as familiar with this, but Heathcliff's name changes. It was first presented as Clifford, and then it changed to Heathcliff. Of course, Cliff was the common name in between. The number of kids actually changed. We went from 4 to 5, and I don't even think 5 was in the episode after that. I think that came a little later. Theo's name changed also. His name was Theo, but of course, short for Theodore. And in the first episode, they called him Teddy, and they called him Theodore. And then in future episodes, he was called Theo. And then, of course, we had a different kitchen and a different living room. And so those are some of the changes that they made from this first episode, along with the episode that airs right after that. Brandon, were you aware of any of these different differences?
Yes, I was.
Okay, cool. And I didn't know, how many, have you seen a lot of The Cosby Show?
I mean, on and off.
I don't know. Okay. And so, of course, I watched this growing up. And so I've seen every episode, and some Brandon knows that I have kind of memorized.
Yes, there's certain ones that you have definitely have memorized in a certain group of your favorites.
Yes, they are. They are. And so, and then just something else that you might find amusing, Brandon. I think I've told you that because I've seen these episodes so many times and I've watched them in order as they've kind of come through, that I've actually kind of picked up on a couple things, and I watched it from different perspectives from at different time periods. For example, one time watching through, I concentrated on Vanessa and how she changed, and then another time I watched it through Theo and kind of looked at how Theo changed also. And what's interesting about Theo is that how they wrapped him up from the first episode to the last episode. And so I know we're going a little bit further than the first episode itself, but I just think it's important to kind of note in this particular series that they did a nice job with continuity, with the exception of that first episode.
Yes, definitely the first episode. This pilot is an exception, but we oftentimes see that in these pilots where they're made to be a one and done. This is all that we have for the series. This one episode, this pilot is what we'll get, and so we can see some of those changes that were made after the pilot.
Yep, we sure can. We sure can.
And yes, and quite interesting always when I get to hear about your media analysis that you did for yourself.
Yes, I wonder where you got it from.
Definitely.
Yeah. And just so guys know, I like to rate these series 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. I actually gave this episode a 3 because I have seen much, much better episodes of The Cosby Show. They come much later in the series, but this was a solid episode.
And Mom, I would have to agree with that.
All right. And what are your thoughts about this first episode?
Yes, I mean, I thought it was a very, solid episode. Again, very much a pilot. You can see sort of the inner workings of what they're trying to do. Because again, in these pilots, for those who haven't tuned into our previous discussions, is that you have to almost give a range as to what you should expect tuning into the show. And so I feel that these pilots are very telling as to where the show's going to focus on. So in this case, you see the focus on Cliff and Theo, and then even Cliff and Claire, and as those are the two main dynamics presented in this episode. And then, of course, with everyone and everybody else at some point or another. But I would say, at least from what I've seen, is that those two dynamics are ones that continue on throughout the series. Yes, other ones are developed, but these two are some of the core.
Yep, they are some of the core. Now, I will say they do touch on Denise a little bit just to show that she has a little different flair. And so that is emphasized in this episode too.
But yes, but I find it interesting that there's certain parts, especially for the set, that usually it's a all or nothing. Like for instance, we've spoken about like Hanging with Mr. Cooper, for instance, where they're on the Growing Pains set for that first episode before getting their own set. Whereas in this one, as you're mentioning, portions of the set are the same or similar, but not all of it.
Yeah, very true.
And Mom, before we head into connections, is there anything else that you want to mention for this pilot of the Cosby Show?
No. I just think it's important to note that it did a great job of just kind of establishing the family and the family dynamics and what they kind of want the audience to kind of see, or at least initially when you begin watching the show.
Well, that's good to know.
Yes, sir. All right, Brandon, what kind of connections do we have?
We have quite a bit.
All right, what are our connections?
Okay, so the first one we're going to go with the director.
All righty.
Okay, so the director is Jay Sandrich. He directed, I believe, 100 episodes of The Cosby Show.
All righty.
But outside of that, he was also the assistant director for the I Love Lucy Christmas special.
Oh, wow. That's a big gap in there. Yeah.
Yes, and he was also the director of the series premieres that we had discussed of the Bob Newhart Show, The Golden Girls, Aaron Mary, Tyler Moore.
Okay. Once more, there's a large dynamic in there.
Yes, and I even mentioned that he also did the pilot, which is episode 2, not episode 1, of A Different World.
Okay. Wow. All right. What other connections do we have?
So we also have one of the two writers, Ed Weinberger.
Okay.
And Mom,
And what did he do?
I said, Mom, do you remember what he's done?
No, go ahead. Tell us.
Okay, so he is a creator and one of the creators of two different shows that we have discussed, an executive producer for the series.
All right. And what is that?
So one of them is Taxi.
Okay.
So he's one of the few creators of Taxi, but he's also the creator of Amen.
Okay. Good to know. And now I can kind of visualize for Amen. I can visualize his name.
So yeah, so those are the big connections there. But Mom, we still have some more.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and then of course you have Dr. Cosby himself, and so he is of course one of the credited creators of both The Cosby Show and A Different World.
Yes, he is. Mm-hmm.
And then we still have more on top of that.
Oh, keep going.
Okay, so the series is produced by Carsey Warner.
Mm-hmm. And of course, that's with a different world, also.
Yes, and they also created the show Roseanne.
Okay.
And so, of course, um, with Roseanne, one of the creator of that show, Matt Williams, he was actually a writer on the Cosby Show.
Okay. Wow, Brandon, those are a lot of connections. Do we have more?
Yes, we do. So, continuing on that, outside just Carsey Warner, um, one of the co-founders, Tom Warner, he later, of
Okay.
course, started his own company, and so he produced The Connors and Extended Family.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Do we have any more?
I think that is about it, at least as the obvious connections here.
All right. That's incredible, Brandon. That really is.
Oh, wait, we have one more,
Okay.
and that is with Vanessa.
Okay. What did Vanessa do?
She was in the episode of the Mother's Day episode of Instant Mom that we have discussed.
Oh, yeah. She sure was. She sure was.
So, yeah, so quite a bit of connections here.
Yep, that there are a lot of connections there. And I didn't talk about the theme song, which I like to talk about. And so it is to me is one of the iconic theme songs. There are of course not words; it's instrumental, but and it goes to various iterations throughout the years. But the most people know the Cosby Show theme song when they hear it.
Yes, and I'll definitely agree with that, Mom. And what I find interesting is, of course, in the final episodes that they show different pieces of the theme songs over the years, but they never include the season one part one.
It was special.
So yeah, so definitely quite interesting when you see the wider scope of the series. That oftentimes you focus in on those later seasons, but not necessarily season one. But the pilot episode is discussed, especially within that final episode with the conversation between Cliff and Theo.
Yes, they do. They do a really good job of making it to build closure with the series.
Yes.
All right, guys, you guys have to let us know. Were you Well, you guys will have to let us know. Did you notice any of these differences in the Cosby Show in regards to the first episode and some of the future episodes? Did you notice more than we did? Please let us know in the comments.
Definitely, please do. And Mom, I have something interesting that I wanted to share too.
And what is that?
So the series overall had 201 episodes, which is quite a lot of episodes for a TV series.
Mm-hmm.
But, Mom, do you know of any other shows that lasted about that long?
Facts of Life.
So The Facts of Life also had 201 episodes.
All right. Yeah. I'm learning a lot from you, Brandon.
Well, I've learned from you.
Yes. Let's see. Well, we thank everybody for watching today.
And I look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.